And I call the honourable member for Lindsay.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's a real privilege to be here today with the two visionary and innovative ministers for infrastructure that represent the Abbott federal government. Deputy Speaker, Western Sydney is under an incredible revolution, an innovation revolution. The University of Western Sydney has done phenomenal work in relation to the Innovation Corridor, starting with the Integrated Health Hub down in Campbelltown, Macarthur region, going up to the Sydney University campus in Camden. Oran Park Town is being accredited as the fastest growing town in Australia. The Southwest Growth Corridor, where 300,000 people will be moving over the next 10 years. Moving now into my electorate of Lindsay, the Sydney Science Park, a 280-hectare facility that will be home to 12,200 jobs in science, biotech, smart jobs, jobs for the future. Of course, the Western Sydney Science Centre and part of the Sydney IQ Business Park, which will see 6,000 jobs also in innovation and science. Going out to the Northwest Growth Sector. Now, the Northwest Growth Sector is home to the Sydney Business Park. Now, the Sydney Business Park is going to be the biggest business park, ministers, in the Southern Hemisphere. These are phenomenal achievements, and these are wonderful things that we're seeing an innovation revolution come right across to the people of Western Sydney. Now, my question is going to be very much about how we can support this innovation, how we can support this growth, how we can support jobs for the future, because it's great that we have inspirational leaders and business communities that are coming in and investing. The Sydney Science Park alone, through the Biata Group, is $2.5 billion of private investment over and above the value of their real estate. Now, this will be in Luddenham, which is on the corner of the Northern Road and Elizabeth Drive, which I'm sure both ministers are very aware of, because it does form part of a $3.6 billion package, which will make Western Sydney move. Greater Western Sydney is home to 1 in 11 Australians. In fact, Greater Western Sydney is the third largest economy in Australia. Greater Western Sydney has 240,000 local businesses. That is why projects like the Business Incubator, which is part of the Sydney IQ Park of the Wellington County Corporate Centre, this incubator, which is a partnership with the UWS, federal government investment was in there as well, and now people like Google that are coming in to work out how can we create the Googles of tomorrow. But you can't just have these wonderful ideas unless we have infrastructure that links it all together. But Sydney has been stymied. We had a former Premier in Bob Carr, and I believe he was in another chamber in this place, who's famous for saying that Sydney is full. Sydney is full, no more infrastructure, Sydney is full. But you know what we've seen? We've seen a gridlock, also known as Parramatta Road. You know, for the people of Western Sydney that I represent, 2/3 of the people of Western Sydney have to commute every single day, 1/3 all the way into the city and 1/3 into Greater Western Sydney. No longer is this good enough. We need jobs in our areas. Previous planning has designed things like dormitory suburbs in outer Western Sydney. You know what? We want jobs for our children. We want jobs for the future. And by 2020, less than 5% of manufacturing will exist in my part of Western Sydney. The dreams of parents in my community, they want to see their kids be successful and have a better life than themselves. And I think that's a noble aspiration of every generation. That is why we need to build the infrastructure for the 21st century, but it's not just about the infrastructure, it's also about the jobs of the 21st century and working these things together. So my question to the ministers is all about how can we continue to get New South Wales moving? How can we allow for jobs in Western Sydney to grow and prosper and for Western Sydney to really lead our country? How can our infrastructure also allow for people in Western Sydney to be able to commute much more efficiently into the city? Because right now, Parramatta Road is not acceptable. If you live in my part of Western Sydney, trying to get up to your Christmas holidays through what is Pennant Hills Road is absolutely diabolical. What if you want to get to the airport? Well, if you try and do it in peak hour, we'll try and do it under 2 hours. With a non-peak hour period might take you 50 minutes. These things are destroying our country's efficiency, our productivity and our ability to compete. That's why we need the infrastructure of the 21st century, and we need ministers of vision to step up and fight for our infrastructure so we can get the jobs that the people of Western Sydney deserve.
Thank you, Member for Lindsay.